So many injuries in the NBA already this season, but now we're getting a big return. Paolo Banchero, this is massive for the Orlando Magic and could definitely shake things up in the NBA's Eastern Conference. We're going to take a look at what Banchero's pending return means for Orlando, what it means for the Eastern Conference, what it might mean for the trade market as well. I'm Trevor Lane. This is the Basketball Bulletin. Make sure you subscribe right here to the channel right now. About 20% of you watching this video are actually subscribed. The other 80%, you know what to do. Hit the button, subscribe to the Basketball Bulletin. Joining me is Donnie Freeman. Donnie, I am so happy. Paolo Banchero, we got the news. The Magic are upgrading him to questionable, and he's going to suit up likely on Friday. Boy, Orlando has been decimated with injuries. To their credit, they've hung in there, and now they get their biggest star back. Donnie, he's a phenomenal player, and he was on a tear to start the season.
Yeah, he only played 5 games this year, but they were super good with him, and he had a 50-point game in that stretch, and he was really starting to just light it up there. So really excited to see him back, and they can use any reinforcement that they're going to get. But I'll say, man, it's, we talked about it when he went out. We talked about it when Franz went out, and this team, to their credit, they've just kind of just kept on. Like they've just hung in there, and they've been really resilient, and that's been awesome. So seeing them get some of their main guys back, or one of their main guys back in Banchero, is going to be massive for this team going forward.
Yeah, you look at the Orlando Magic right now, sitting in the 4 seed in the NBA's Eastern Conference, and this is despite, bizarrely, both Paolo Banchero and Franz Wagner being lost due to torn obliques. That's got to be a first, that we've had the top 2 players on the team both out due to torn obliques. Right now, Jalen Suggs is dealing with a lower back thing. Gary Harris has been out. This Magic team, like a lot of teams around the NBA, have been absolutely crushed by injuries. And yet, look at them. There they are. I mean, 22-16. They've gotten some big wins. They actually beat the Knicks last game, despite being so shorthanded. They have been this team that is just a pain to play against every single night, because they get out there and they play with heart, with hustle, and defense. They really get after you on that side of the ball. And so I think this Banchero addition solves a lot of their problems. And I think Orlando now is a team to certainly watch on the trade market, maybe to look at it, make another move. Cam Johnson's a guy they've been connected to in the past, because I think they can get themselves into that next tier in the NBA's Eastern Conference. I think they can be right there with the Knicks, despite being 2.5 games back right now.
Yeah, they absolutely need more offensive firepower. They're, as currently constructed with, their injuries and stuff, one of the worst offensive teams, but they've been able to win games on the strength of their, like you said, energy, their defense, things like that. So getting back the firepower that he can provide for them is going to be massive. But do you have a look at their upcoming schedule here that he'll be, taking part in for one of these next upcoming games as well?
Yeah, let's take a look at the schedule right after this. We'll talk about real quick our sponsor, which is Prize Picks. You guys can use the code Bulletin in the link in the description down below, and you get a guaranteed $50 when you play your first $5. Prize Picks, always a lot of fun. And Donnie, I really wanted to get into this today because we've got the big Thunder Cavs matchup tonight. I can't wait. This is going to be so damn good. So let's stick with these players. And credit to the NBA. They're actually promoting this thing. Not like they did with Jokic and Wemby, didn't promote it as much. This one they're promoting. I know they're not big market glamour teams, but the Cavs and Thunder are playing some of the very best basketball in the NBA. I can't wait to see these two sides go head to head. Let's stick with these guys. Let's go SGA against Cleveland. Does he get more or less than 43.5 points, rebounds, and assists?
I think that's a pretty clear number for him. I'm going to say more.
Yeah,
I think
I'm going to be optimistic. I'm going to be optimistic for this matchup. Now, what about Donovan Mitchell? I mean, the Thunder's defense is phenomenal, the best defense in the NBA.
Yeah,
does he get more than 22.5 points?
He's getting 22, man. He's going to get it.
All right. Let's do it. Let's have a fun game.
He's going to get it.
Let's have a fun game. Let's make it a 3-play pick here. Let's look at Jarrett Allen. He's been fantastic. Or we could look at the other side with Isaiah Hartenstein, 12 rebounds. I kind of like Jarrett Allen on the points. I think he can get more than 12.5.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
He's a monster there. Okay, so we'll go with those 3. Everybody, if you guys want to get on a Prize Picks, you see how simple it is, how easy it is to play. Use the link in the description down below. Use our code Bulletin as well, and you get a guaranteed $50 on your first $5 played. All right, let's go take a look at the Magic's upcoming schedule. Or you've got Banchero coming back. That's certainly exciting for them. Franz Wagner still a ways off. Hopefully Jalen Suggs won't be too much longer with his back injury. But Oh boy. Maybe a little bit of strategy here for this, Donnie. You're looking, they've got a Western Conference opponent on Thursday, and it sounds like it's more likely Friday that Banchero is going to play. They've got a back-to-back Thursday and Friday. Sit him against the West team, play him against your direct Eastern Conference playoff rival in the Milwaukee Bucks on Friday. That makes sense, perfect sense for the Orlando Magic to take that strategy. It's more important that they're good against Milwaukee than against Minnesota because Eastern Conference, Western Conference. And so that's the perfect strategy for Orlando. Wait till Friday and then bring Banchero back.
So what teams are they playing? Was the West team?
The West team. Oh, see here, I thought I was showing it to everybody on the screen.
I figured that you made a mistake. I just didn't want to call it out.
I thought I had it up for everybody to see there, but now we do. Okay, so it's it's Minnesota. And then Milwaukee, second night of a back-to-back. And that would give them, Minnesota is not an easy team to play against. So you probably have some heavy legs in Orlando after playing Minnesota on Thursday night. You get a little bit of reinforcement. You get some fresh legs coming in, Paolo Banchero on Friday. And then you look at the rest of the month of January. You've got some big-time matchups here, right? Yeah. We should get a real sense of what the Magic are with Paolo Banchero back. And I know they still need Franz Wagner back, but Philadelphia, Milwaukee again. Those are two really important games against the Bucks. You've got the Celtics. If you want to get into that next tier, a win over Boston would certainly help you there. You get Denver. It does lighten up from there a bit. You get Toronto, Portland, Detroit, Miami, maybe with Jimmy Butler, maybe without. Who knows where Jimmy will be? Portland and Utah again. So this is, I think you get some real tests, and then it lightens up a bunch to finish out January 21st on. You get some very winnable games and a chance for the Orlando Magic to go on a serious run here.
Yeah, that's probably one of their hardest stretches for a while there. They've got some really tough teams there. Milwaukee and Philly, started off pretty slow, starting to rebound, have been rebounding for a while. If you're Milwaukee, I saw Embiid starting to play more like Embiid, unlike last time we talked about the Sixers. So I think they'll definitely need the firepower from Banchero, and I think that's going to be a good test to see how this team measures up against some of the best Eastern Conference teams. And then they're going to cap it off with the Nuggets, and that's going to be a tough fought game as well. So definitely an interesting stretch here for them. Now with Banchero back, and I'd assume that we're going to get Franz back like in a month or something like that, just in time for the deadline, basing it off of how long, Banchero was out, maybe around that area. Don't quote me or anything, but do you think if this team is able to stay afloat, they've been 5-5 in the last 10, say they just keep that pace, or maybe they go 6-4, something like that, every 10 games until the deadline, do you think that they should be buyers, or what do you think their plan should be?
Oh, I think they absolutely should be buyers on the market for sure. I think there's opportunity here in the East. I don't have them as a top tier. To me in the East, it's the Cavs and the Celtics, and then everybody else is a tier below that. But I have the Magic solidly in that next tier. The Knicks, the Magic, the Bucks have worked their way back up into that. The Heat, it's all going to depend on how things work out with Jimmy Butler. If they just don't have Jimmy and he's away from the team and they haven't found a trade where they add pieces, then maybe they drop down a bit. But I think right now the Knicks, Bucks, and Magic are in a tier of their own currently. And I think the Magic have the possibility. You can argue the Knicks may be in kind of their own quasi tier. There may be three tiers there: Cavs, Celtics in a tier, Knicks in their own tier, and then Orlando and Milwaukee in a tier. I think Orlando is in the kind of second tier with the Knicks if they've got their guys healthy, if they got Banchero back, and then they'd be looking to make the push to make one more step up. So if they were to land, let's say they go get Cam Johnson, and that's one of the weaknesses of this Magic team, right? It's shooting. Let's say they're able to go get Cam Johnson, someone like that, make that kind of a move, a player that still fits their timeline and everything. I think this team could be very dangerous. So I think they should absolutely be a buyer, just because, especially, they have such a clear. I mean, they are literally dead last in the NBA in 3-point percentage, dead last. So they are screaming for a trade.
Yeah,
and think about how good they are already. The 4 seed in the East. And they've got this clear weakness. They address that without sacrificing too much on the defensive side of the ball, and the sky's the limit for this team.
Well, I think they've got defense to sacrifice because they're the best defense basically in the league right now, right? Like, where are they ranking
They're
with
one of
the
them.
defensive? They're like top 2, right? So, like, I think they've got something because when you swing that
Yep.
badly in terms of offense, they're one of the worst offensive teams in the league. I think you can sacrifice a little bit there and kind of even this roster out because really where you want to be is top, 5-10 in both, and you'd be good, but you don't want to be towards the bottom in one and then towards the top in the other.
Yeah,
So
that's
while
the
they
issue. They
need
are
shooting,
26th in offensive rating. But how
yeah.
much does
So while
Paolo
they need shooting,
Banchero
they just
returning
need.
fix that? He's a
Yeah,
25 point per game scorer.
that's what I was saying though. But the same was also true when they didn't have Paulo, but they had Franz. This was still the same. So, like, I think
Yeah.
that they need a few. So, like, Cam, adding him in, adding his shooting is fine, but I think they just need some more guys that can go out there and just score. I like the way that they play. Defense wins games, defense wins championships, but you've got to also
Sure.
be a good offense. And I think that's the main thing that kind of separates them from the top end. So, back to my question previously, I do think they should be buyers, and they maybe should be in on some players that are really good offensive players. I don't know who those are in particular without trying to give up too much money wise, but I think that's what they should be looking for because I think that's what's going to take them to the next level is getting more offense in there.
I mean, let's get a little crazy here because why not? Should Orlando make the call on Zach LaVine?
I knew you were going to say he was the one that came. He was the one that came to mind when I was like, "Oh, they should get another offensive player in there." Zach would fit really nice in Orlando. He would.
Does he
I
take the
worry
ball out of
about
Paulo's hands though?
exactly. I worry about him maybe taking the ball out of Paolo and Franz's hands a little bit too much. But man, just the pure bucket he is, he would fit so nicely on this team. And I think they can make up for whatever deficiencies he has because, like I said, they're the second best defense in the league. So I think they'd be all right. But yeah, I'm not sure if they would want to go in on 45 million or whatever. So that's the tricky thing.
Especially if you have to use Kentavious Caldwell-Pope's $22.7 million. And I don't know if the Bulls would even want to take on the additional years on his contract. So then you're talking about a 3-year trade, or a 3-team trade. But you're sacrificing a significant defensive piece in KCP, who's not shot the ball particularly well this season, but a significant defensive piece on the perimeter if you were to give him up in order to get Zach LaVine. But boy, I mean, for a team that struggled offensively, I think, Donnie, what they're going to do is they're going to get Paolo back. They're going to see what that does. See if that changes their offensive output while recognizing that they still need to get Franz back as well. And then go from there. Maybe it's a smaller trade. Maybe it's do you go bring back your old friend in Nikola Vucevic, right? Do you go bring back him? He can give you something on the offensive end. Does he give you something defensively? No. But again, can the rest of your team make up for that? Maybe that is more of a middle ground trade. Same team, the Chicago Bulls, but more of a middle ground trade that you can make. Yeah. If you're the Orlando Magic, go get some scoring help from the center position and then go for, although they already have some decent center with Goga, with Wendell Carter Jr. I know they lost Mo Wagner, but still, that's something to watch with Orlando as well. But the big, like the sexy move would be go after Zach LaVine, and then you've really got some offensive firepower. Ooh, man.
Yeah, I would say that, like, while I think that their inability to score will cause them in the matchup versus some of the teams that are just juggernauts on both sides. But, the game slows down so much, turns into a rock fight, and it turns into who can execute more in the playoffs, of course, execute more in the half court and who can get the shots they're looking for and who plays the better defense. And I think that I would like to see kind of how this current build does, to be fair, in the playoffs. Mm-hmm. I know that they have had a little bit. I think they were there last year, right? But, you got a year of growth from these guys, and they're all young. So year of growth from these guys, and I think that, that could be interesting. But to their credit, I mean, they've been successful. So you could argue you don't need to really change the formula in a drastic way, a la LaVine or anything like that. So it'll be interesting.
The LaVine thing would be the headline grabbing move. But I'll tell you, if I'm Orlando, if I'm really running the Magic, I'm bringing Paolo back here. I'm going to take a week or two, see what's what, see how it all comes together, see how I look against Denver, against Boston, against some of these teams they've got on the schedule, and then making some decisions from there. And if I need to make an upgrade, I'm probably doing more of the mid-tier upgrade, like a Nikola Vucevic, someone like that, rather than the big time, we're going to go get, LaVine, or we're going to go try to get Brandon Ingram or somebody like that. I'm looking for more the middle of the ground, not the home run swing, but you're adding something to this team that's not going to be too disruptive. So that's the move I'm probably realistically making if I'm the Magic, but I kind of hope, just for the sake of all the drama, that they wind up being the team to go after Zach LaVine, because he'd be fun in Orlando. But the Magic, great news for the NBA. We're starting to see players return from injury. Zion Williamson returned last night. Now we've got Paolo Banchero right now averaging 25 points per game coming back for the Orlando Magic. Big time scoring threat, and I can't wait to see him back out there. Truly one of the young stars in the NBA. Give us your thoughts on the Orlando Magic in the comment section down below. And yesterday we did a live show where we broke down all the latest going on around the NBA trade market. So go check that out right now.